4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Oh, it is so good to be sitting back in the chair. Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show Monday edition. Over the weekend, folks, I had the pleasure of being at Restoration Weekend, run by David Horowitz and his fine organization at the Breakers in Palm Beach. It was a tough assignment, but somebody had to do it. And we are going to air interviews on this show, exclusive one-on-one interviews. We were the only media in the House by special invitation, and we have a one-on-one interview with Senator Ted Cruz, which will be coming up at the bottom of this hour. And then at the bottom of hour number 3, Dr. Ben Carson and I sat down. We will air that interview. So I'm excited to see them back. I did them, but I haven't seen them back yet, so we're going to get to that. Also, Ann Coulter will join us. Niger Innis will join us. They were down there at Restoration Weekend, so a big show coming up right here. Now, I don't know. I didn't have a chance to see Saturday Night Live, but I did get to hear this. Let's run cut number 18.
So you can turn those approval ratings upside down. And Paxil's second-term strength treats a whole range of symptoms, like Benghazi, the NSA scandal, the IRS scandal, the AP scandal, the Petraeus scandal, that time Jay-Z and Beyonce went to Cuba, and of course, Obamacare website problems.
And they show the actor who plays Obama on Saturday Night Live at that point downing the whole bottle of Paxil. Now, let me take you back. Let me flash back a little bit here. This is 2008, ladies and gentlemen, and this was a presidential primary debate between Senator Barack Obama and Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton. And here's what Obama had to say. Cut number 11.
My greatest weakness, I think, is that when it comes to, I'll give you a very good example. I ask my staff never to hand me paper until 2 seconds before I need it, because I will lose it. And my desk in my office doesn't look good. I've got to have somebody around me who is keeping track of that stuff. And that's not trivial. I need to have good people in place who can make sure that systems run. That's what I've always done, and that's why we've run not only a good campaign, but a good U.S. Senate office.
Yeah. So he admits that he's disorganized and messy. That's his weakness. He also called himself lazy to Barbara Walters, a disorganized, messy, lazy president. That's what we have, and that's what Obamacare indicates we have. Plus, he's a liar, in my opinion. So when you put disorganized, messy, lazy, and a liar together, that's what you get. Somebody downing a bottle of Paxil. Not funny. Very sad for the country. Very sad indeed. Now, I want you to listen to Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews, of all people, before we get to another MSNBCer. Chris Matthews criticizing Barack Obama in cut 16 for not delegating authority to other people properly. Here it is.
There was no sense of... Look at Japan. The occupation of Japan, it was simple. Put one guy in charge, Doug MacArthur. You put somebody in charge, and they're uniquely responsible for its success or failure. Obama doesn't do things that way. He's got floaters like Valerie Jarrett floating around. He doesn't want to have a real chief of staff like a Jim Baker. He doesn't want to give authority to people, and I think it's been a real problem.
Oh, it's been a real problem. It's been a real problem on front after front after front. His presidency has been a disaster. A disaster to you and me, to the country, to the world. But I don't know if he considers it that way, because I think he has very definite goals. Remember, he was going to fundamentally change America, and he's doing it. He's succeeding in fundamentally changing America and fundamentally changing our foreign policy and who we support abroad. Forget Israel. Iran is now the great hero, the great ally to be. Egypt, we don't need them. We don't need Saudi Arabia. We got the Muslim Brotherhood. So he, well, it's a disaster. It is to people who love America and around the world who depend on America and who consider America their allies and who look to America for stability, including, most importantly, us. But even though it's disastrous on the surface, and in reality it may not be a disaster to him. It may be exactly what he intends to do. Think about that. That's why we're here, to give you that thought process. Get it going. Get it churning. Now, Martin Bashir, a despicable man, in my opinion, a despicable TV host, has no business being on television. Here's what he did. He played a bite the other day of Sarah Palin, and this is, I believe, included in cut 4. Let's go to cut 4.
Our free stuff today is being paid for by taking money from our children and borrowing from China. When that note comes due, and this isn't racist, so yeah, try it anyway. This isn't racist, but it's going to be like slavery when that note is due.
It'll be like slavery. Given her well-established reputation as a world-class idiot, it's hardly surprising that she should choose to mention slavery in a way that is abominable to anyone who knows anything about its barbaric history.
All right. He goes on from there. He relates a story about a slave forced to defecate and urinate in another slave's mouth. Here will be cut number 5.
Thistlewood was the son of a tenant farmer who arrived on the island of Jamaica in April 1750 and assumed the position of overseer at a major plantation. What is most shocking about Thistlewood's diary is not simply the fact that he assumes the right to own and possess other human beings, but is the sheer cruelty and brutality of his regime. In 1756, he records that a slave named Darby catched eating canes, had him well flogged and pickled, then made Hector, another slave, S-H-I-T, in his mouth.
Okay. And then he takes that to an unprecedented level in our media's discourse. Something I've never heard before in my life. I can't, even though it's the despicable MSNBC, I cannot fathom that Martin Bashir still works there or still is allowed to show his face in this country without being ridiculed. Give a listen to this. This is cut number 7.
Flogged Punch well and then washed and rubbed salt pickle, lime juice and bird pepper. Made Negro Joe in his eyes and mouth. I could go on, but you get the point. That if anyone truly qualified for a dose of discipline from Thomas Thistlewood, then she would be the outstanding candidate.
Okay. What he wants is for someone to defecate and urinate in Sarah Palin's mouth. And there's no other way you take that. There's no other way around that. There's no other meaning to that. And I would assume that Phil Griffin of MSNBC, rather than suspend Martin Bashir, as he did Alec Baldwin, who we'll get to in a minute, rather than discipline him, fire him, reprimand him, I would have to think they were popping champagne corks. I would have to think this is the biggest backslapper ever at MSNBC. I would have to think that in the mind of Phil Griffin, the boss at MSNBC, Martin Bashir just raised himself up just one notch below the national treasure, as Griffin calls him, Chris Matthews. I think Martin Bashir, far from having his job put in jeopardy, has elevated his status at the rat hole known as MSNBC. Disgusting, vile, vulgar, and vicious. And they're loving every minute of it. Woohoo! Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some, once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew, a fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
So describe for me the ideal Republican presidential candidate in 2016.
I think it's got to be an outsider. I think both the presidential and the vice presidential nominee should either be a former or current governor. People who've done successful things in their states, who've taken on big reforms, who are ready to move America forward.
Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. What I meant to play was Alec Baldwin, and we'll get to him in just a second. But joining us right now is Tim Graham, Director of Media Analysis for the Media Research Center. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's start before we get to Baldwin. Let's get to Martin Bashir. I call him Martin. Martin Bashir. We just played the show from the other night or the other day on MSNBC in the previous segment. You're well aware of what he said and how we set it up. How is it possible that this man is, as far as I know, maybe you have later news, has not been even publicly reprimanded by MSNBC?
Well, I hate to say we should have low expectations. The soft expectations of MSNBC's bigotry.
to steal a phrase and turn it around from George Bush, yes.
I mean, when you hire Al Sharpton, I mean, the notion that you have any standards tends to stop.
But have you ever heard anything like this? I mean, to me, I've been in this business 30 years, and I know as much about media bias as any non-expert like you are as a host, and I've never seen anything to this level before.
But its virality is limited to the conservative media bloggers. I don't think this is something that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is the Huffington Posters and stuff picked up on this?
Not that I know of.
So I mean, I think that. Perhaps they find that he was subtle enough, even though it wasn't subtle. But he beat around the bush, the tiniest amount, that she should get Thistlewood's remedy. And so it is certainly vulgar. It is certainly something that we could all play the game and say, if a Fox News host, say on the 5, uncorked something like this.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can understand how the broader media would respond. And part of the answer to that is simply, when you are a conservative, your hatred is assumed. When you're a liberal, your wisdom is assumed. Your heart is in the right place because you are progressive. Therefore, I was just looking at an interview recently with Margaret Cho, the comedian.
Yeah, boy, she's a piece of work.
Yeah, she basically said, well, I can push as far as I want to because I'm a person of color and a queer and a gay activist and a feminist. Therefore,
well, she's right.
I have a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah, no, she's absolutely right.
So, I mean, I think that's what's being used in this case to some extent, is to say he can say whatever he wants. I mean, and he's known for having just bizarro Rick Santorums like Stalin. I mean, he just clearly is a guy who always sounds like he's coming unglued.
No, I agree. Your colleague.
This is personal in a worse way, obviously.
You're right, and your colleague Noel Shepard, who's on with us every week from Newsbusters.org, called him the craziest man, or the biggest loose cannon. And this was before this incident. This was last Thursday. So I mean, he was right on target, and you're absolutely right. But let me move on to talk about Alec Baldwin, and here's a guy who, again, if it were a conservative, would be in hiding somewhere a long time ago. Here's a guy with accusation after accusation of calling black photographers, bigoted names in one sense or another, anti-gay slurs, accusations of in one way or another, usually against photographers. Yet bank has him as a spokesman. He gets kicked off an airplane. They make a joke about it. It was very serious from witnesses who were quoted in the paper. The bank keeps him. He's on, he's got TV series. He's got everything. He's a hero to the left. And now I guess it went a little too far because he's got a show on, again, MSNBC, and he calls a photographer a blanking, and then a derogatory statement towards gays. And I guess that was the straw that broke some back, and MSNBC suspended him for 2 weeks. But why suspend him for that and not Bashir?
Well, probably because Baldwin only has a Friday night show, so when you cancel him when you take him off for 2 weeks, it's 2 hours, whereas you take Bashir off for 2 weeks and it's 10 hours.
Oh, that would be a huge loss.
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm sure to some extent my guess would be here is that our gay and lesbian alliance against defamation would call and say he needs to be put in the corner.
Right. And the Sarah Palin protective agency wouldn't be calling, and if they did, they wouldn't take the call anyway.
No. Yeah. I mean, again, it's the Lean Forward Network, And so this is But this is the whole thing is, you know who really should be the first to denounce this? Morning Joe. The people who are against incivility in our politics. How many hours a day could Joe Scarborough spend talking about the vulgarity and incivility that follows him every day on this channel?
Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that because I do have Joe Scarborough coming on with me tomorrow, and I certainly am going to address this with him, so it'll be interesting to hear what he says. Yeah,
Joe, are we going to fire Martin Bashir?
Absolutely. One more for you real quick here. Cher is at it again, and Sarah Palin's the victim again. I guess there's Palin derangement syndrome that's still in full force, much as Bush derangement syndrome has been a disease that has no cure. And she called her, basically, she tweeted a pic of Sarah Palin. No, wait, she's under dumb C word. The viciousness, the hatred. I mean, a woman saying that this woman is the C word. I mean, that's as bad as you could get.
Well, anybody who's followed Cher's Twitter account would know that the idea of her calling someone else dumb is the pot calling the kettle black if you spell black without a C.
How about a new singing group? How about Bette Midler, Cher, and Barbra Streisand? And we could put them on tour.
Yeah, well, you could charge for that, but not for their tweets.
There you go. Hey, Tim, always a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Bye-bye. Tim Graham, Director of Media Analysis for the Media Research Center on the Steve Malzberg Show. When we come back, parts 1 and 2, and there are only 2 parts, of my interview with Senator Ted Cruz over the weekend at Restoration Weekend at the Breakers in Palm Beach, coming right here, exclusively, only on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV and radio.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint. limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Men, this is the time in your life when you have more freedom to travel, more time for leisure, including an active lifestyle, even a renewed intimacy. The last thing you want is the hassle of an aging prostate. Frequent trips to the bathroom also keep you awake at night. But here's good news. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes that prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. Learn more about how you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit prostaterevive.com/special for complete details. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate, while supplies last. Try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, on Saturday, I had the opportunity to sit down one-on-one with Senator Ted Cruz from the great state of Texas. He was a keynote speaker at the Restoration Weekend down at the Breakers in Palm Beach. And we started off the interview by asking him about his experience so far. Limited time in the Senate. He has become a lightning rod for both sides and the media, of course. And here's what he had to say about that.
Well, I certainly didn't predict that it would be the whirlwind it has. It really has been a breathtaking year. And I think part of it is the challenges facing our country are extraordinary. And you know, I, for one, feel really privileged, blessed to have the chance to be serving at a time such as this, at a time when the challenges are just so grave.
Now, the media has seized upon you. Probably the only person where they did it quicker that I can recall is Sarah Palin. The second Sarah Palin was chosen as John McCain's running mate, she was a bad mom. She has a young child. How could she do both? I mean, they killed her from the beginning. But you, I mean, you've caught up and surpassed. It might have taken a little longer. But you were on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and people saw a side of you. You said something negative about Obamacare. The audience applauded. Yet they call you the most hated man in America, the liberal media. So how would they reconcile something like that? I guess by ignoring the success you had on The Tonight Show, for instance.
Well, I will confess, being on the Tonight Show was a little surreal. When you walk out on the stage with Jay Leno, you're looking around going, what the heck am I doing here? It was very cool, though, because the guest that preceded me was Mariska Hargitay, who's on Law & Order. Sure. And I'm a huge Law & Order fan, so I thought that was very neat. And I was certainly, I was pleasantly surprised by the very warm reaction I got from the studio audience there in Burbank, California.
You know, that Wall Street Journal, NBC News poll where the Democrats claim that's what forced the Republicans to cave. It was a few weeks during the shutdown. And there were negatives in that poll. And both Barack Obama and Harry Reid had higher total negatives than you. But of course, that's something they'll never talk about.
Well, you know, I think there's a real divide between Washington, D.C. and the rest of the country. And I've said a lot of times, I think the biggest divide in this country is not between Republicans and Democrats. It is between entrenched politicians in Washington of both parties and the American people. There are a lot of politicians in Washington who just aren't listening to the American people, and people are frustrated. You take something like Obamacare. Millions of Americans have been speaking up saying, this is a train wreck, this is a disaster, this is killing jobs, this is forcing people into part-time work. And as we've been seeing in the last few weeks, this is taking away the health care of millions of Americans. And yet Washington hasn't been listening to them. And I think that's the frustration people feel all across this country, and that's something I hope will change.
Well, let me ask you, when Bill Clinton said what he said, urging President Obama to, even if he has to change the law, help these people, what did you feel? Did you feel vindication? Did you feel shock? What went through your mind?
Well, I think it was a very revealing comment. That Bill Clinton said that, to me, suggested that maybe he's looking for some distance, and in particular to try to distance Hillary Clinton from both President Obama and Obamacare. And I think that speaks volumes, that this thing isn't working, that nobody is defending it. And that was really a signal to an awful lot of Democrats. That the wheels are falling off of this thing, and we've started to see a lot more Democrats finally being willing to break with Obamacare to stop the partisan obstruction they've been engaged in, and to start, I hope, beginning to listen to the American people.
39 of them yesterday in the House. What does that signal to you? And what about that bill? I mean, does that go far enough? What is your, I mean, your ultimate goal is to do away with Obamacare, but can it be piecemeal, so to speak? And of course, the next question is, or the next fact to realize is, this, Harry Reid's never going to bring this up.
Well, you know, as John Adams said, facts are stubborn things. And the facts are Obamacare isn't working. I mean, it is, at this point, I actually think it is the essence of pragmatism to want to repeal Obamacare, because 3.5 years ago, maybe it was the case that reasonable minds could have differed, that some people might have believed maybe Obamacare would work. Today, nobody believes that. You can't look at the facts. When you've got over 5 million Americans who've had their health insurance canceled because of Obamacare, you've had 100,000 sign up and 5 million lose their health insurance.
Subpar insurance policies from bad apple insurance companies.
Well, you know, as subpar as the president might think they are, even more subpar is not having any insurance when you've been canceled. And it's the classic illustration of liberalism and big government run amok, where people in Washington think they know better than you do about the health care you need, about the health care your family needs. I got to tell you, it is a great reminder of what it is we're fighting for when I go back to Texas, which I try to do every weekend. And all across the state of Texas, I hear Texans who come up to me, and you know, lately, more and more of them, they're scared. They're losing their health care. You know, you've got moms with kids with diabetes, with real health issues. You've got people who are just, they're frightened by what's happening. And what has happened to the Democratic partisanship is it has confronted the reality of the millions of Americans who are paying the price, who are facing real harms because of that.
The navigators. James O'Keefe went undercover and first in Texas and revealed that last week. He's got more coming. I just spoke to him today. This should be what Kathleen Sebelius said to John Cornyn about, convicted felons could have access, and then to see these navigators on tape telling people cheat, lie, steal. I mean, this should lead the news every single night, and this should be the end of the whole program. But of course, the media doesn't really want to talk about this.
No, that's exactly right. Let me say, God bless James O'Keefe. He does such a terrific job of simply shining the light in darkness, telling the truth. The great thing about what James does is he just runs a camera and lets people explain what they're doing. The navigators, you know, part of the problem with the left is for them it is about power. It is about the power of Washington to control your life, to control my life. And so they're using, the navigators are all about using taxpayer money to fund partisan operatives. And that's fundamentally corrupt. It's wrong. It's misusing the machinery of government. And what James has done is simply put on film that these folks understand they're partisan operatives. They're not engaged in anything other than trying to mobilize people to keep Democrats in power, to maintain their control over our lives.
Your eyes don't lie. Let me ask you this. Do you think it would help your cause and the Republicans' cause if you would go, I know you can't do it in the Senate, but if they would pass a bill? How about the 5 things that people like from Obamacare? Portability, you can't, pre-existing condition, close the donut hole, you could keep your kids on the insurance till they're 116, and just say, here's a bill, and pass that, and say, here, 1 sheet of paper, see the other 1,800? Whoosh. Wouldn't that help public perception?
Well, I agree with the philosophy you're talking about, that we should be talking proactively about health care reform to empower patients, to increase choice, to drive down costs and expand affordability and access. And in my view, right now we're at an interesting time because the Democrats are scrambling. They're like fleeing a sinking ship. And you see Democrats, what they're desperately looking for is right now not a way to fix the problem. They're just looking for a political Band-Aid. They're looking for something to cover their political rear ends, but frankly, they don't make a big enough Band-Aid to do that. And so you're seeing all of these bills that the White House is pushing, the Democrats are pushing, that have clever titles, things like, if you like your plan, you can really, 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 really keep it.
For a year.
For a year.
Yeah, and then you're back in the same boat,
But none of these are going to work. This thing is fundamentally broken, and tinkering around the edges, sticking a Band-Aid on it's not going to fix the problem. The solution is to repeal it. Repeal it outright, to say, listen, it isn't working. as a simple, pragmatic, reasonable starting point. Let's start over. And then what we ought to work on doing is reforming health care so that we expand competition. The first step we ought to take is allowing people to purchase health insurance across state lines. Create a national marketplace. What that does is it drives down cost, and it increases choice.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that's really, at its very core, most messed up about Obamacare is that it drives up cost. If you want to expand access, you want to drive costs down. Obamacare goes the other way. It drives up costs and reduces choice. The way to expand access is expand choice and drive down costs. That's what, as conservatives, we need to be talking about, is empowering you, not bureaucrats getting between you and your doctor.
And I love when he says you could buy a policy for your cell phone. The deductible on some of these policies, people won't even go to the doctor because they got to pay the first $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
Right.
Yes, indeed. All right, that's part one of the Ted Cruz interview that we did down over the weekend, Saturday evening in Palm Beach at Restoration Weekend. And when we come back in the next segment, we will play for you the second part where he talks about Obama's abuse of power. And I bring up the I word, and he addresses the I word. The I word is not Imus. The I word is impeachment over abuse of power, not only over Obamacare, but also over him picking and choosing which laws to enforce aside from Obamacare, and which parts of which laws to enforce and which parts of laws not to enforce. You can't do that. That's unconstitutional. It's totally unconstitutional. Now, as an aside, this just in, keep your plan. You know, if you like it, you could keep it. That was untrue. I do not doubt that for a second. I believe to be a liar, you have to know that what you're saying is not true, and I believe absolutely. But there's more and more politicians and mainstream pundits now accusing the president of that. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican from Wisconsin, said those assurances were not slight exaggerations or innocent shadings of the truth. He said this in the Republican radio address over the weekend. And you have Liz Cheney. She used the L word in her appearance on Fox News Sunday. There's no question that he lied. And you have others that are coming out and saying it as well. It's absolutely irresponsible to believe that the president did not know. Now Charles Schumer. Let's see. Actually, this is Kirsten Gillibrand. She said that we all knew plans would be canceled. We all knew plans would be canceled, and she said Obama should have been more specific, but she defended the promise because she said the law needed to be passed to ensure more people could get affordable health care. Do you understand what that means? She said the president should have been more specific, but we all knew plans would be canceled. But she defended what the president did, which was to lie. If the president knew plans would be canceled, and he's part of we all, and you say if you like it, you could keep it, meaning it won't be canceled, then she's admitting he lied. But she says he had a lie, as she said here. She defended the promise, which was a lie by her own definition, because she said the law needed to be passed to get more people affordable health care. So the ends justify the means. Very frightening. Very frightening. Hey, Senator Gillibrand, if it's okay for the president to lie about this because it's for the greater good, in your opinion, then what else could the president lie about as long as it's for the greater good, of course, in your opinion? Anything, Senator Gillibrand? Or are there limits to what you would stand for, even if it's for the greater good as you see it? This is dangerous, dangerous stuff. All right, we're coming back with part two of the Ted Cruz interview. And Coulter's still ahead today. Dr. Ben Carson, we interviewed him. We'll play that later on for you. All that and so much more coming your way if you stay with us on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Wow, you look great. Thanks. I've lost some weight. What's your secret weapon? Actually, I do in fact have one. Really?
If you're looking for help in your weight loss efforts, remember this name, Metabio. It just may be the edge you've been looking for. Metabio is the nutritional weight loss breakthrough power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. Metabio supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. It helps maintain your optimal weight and wellness when used as part of a healthy lifestyle. Now you can receive a 30-day supply of Metabio. Simply cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/offer for complete details. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Practical Guide to Healthy Weight Management. Learn how you can try Metabio for 30 days at themetabio.com/offer. That's the metabio.com/offer. Hurry, only while supplies last at themetabio.com/offer.
That's limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, we continue now, folks. Welcome back with our interview with Senator Ted Cruz, our exclusive conducted at the Restoration Weekend down in Palm Beach, Florida. And we talked about Barack Obama's abuse of power. Give a listen to this.
The question you raise is a very important one. It's one of the most troubling aspects of the Obama administration is, aside from their radical policy, the way they've implemented it has sadly been lawless. Over and over again, this president has said, I don't care what the law is, I'm going to refuse to enforce it. And so we saw that with respect to immigration, when he said, I'm not going to enforce the immigration laws against certain individuals. We saw that with the drug laws, where he said, I'm just going to pretend these laws don't exist and not enforce them. We've seen it with Obamacare, where provision after provision, he says, for big business, I'm not going to enforce it against them for a year. For members of Congress, even though Obamacare applies to members of Congress, I, President Obama, I'm going to refuse to enforce the law. And now, most strikingly, just last week, in response to 5 million people losing their insurance and more getting ready to lose their insurance,
it again.
He simply says, fine, we won't enforce that part of the law.
Unconstitutional?
It's completely
impeachable?
You know, Article 2 of the Constitution gives the president a responsibility to, quote, take care that the laws be faithfully executed. We have never seen a president behave like President Obama, who believes he can just pick and choose. He'll enforce this law, not enforce another law. I mean, that is
impeachable,
deeply dangerous. You know, that's a question for the House, ultimately. The House, under the Constitution, makes the decision whether to impeach,
right.
And then the Senate is charged with trying it. So that's a question for the House to assess.
Would you urge them to consider it?
You know, any impeachment would have to be tried in the United States Senate. Mm-hmm. So since my responsibility would be to render judgment, I would not want to urge the House to do anything other than exercise its best judgment, and then I would endeavor to do the same on my end.
Now, I know and I believe you when you say you're serving the people of Texas. You're a year or so into this whole thing, and you know I know Barack Obama got some criticism for just getting elected to the Senate and then running for president, and I don't compare you to him in any way. Don't get me wrong, but you have to have national aspiration. I mean, you have to. This is now in your blood, and you have become, like I said, the lightning rod for some don't like you, and many love you. So, is the presidency something you will one day consider? Not today, maybe not in 2016, but will you consider that?
Well, look, I appreciate the question. It's a kind question, and I understand the instincts to focus on politics, focus on the next elections. I'm trying very hard to keep my focus on the substance. I think the challenges facing our country are enormous. I don't think we're at a typical time. We're facing a fiscal and economic cliff that is bankrupting this country.
But who better than the chief executive to get us out of the mess?
Well, what I can tell you is two things. Number one, I think the Senate is the battlefield right now, and my focus is on the U.S. Senate, on standing up and fight to pull us back from that fiscal and economic cliff, to get back to free market principles and get back to the Constitution. And number two, I think our window to turn this country around is short, and I am committed to doing everything I can to helping energize and mobilize the grassroots. The answers are not going to come from Washington. The way we're going to turn this country around is to see millions of Americans standing up saying, there's a better way. We want to get back to the foundations of our country. You know, I think where we are now is very, very similar to the late 1970s. Late 1970s, we had
Carter years, yeah.
Jimmy Carter years, terrible economy, double-digit unemployment, 22% interest rates, a feckless foreign policy. And yet what we saw all across this country was a grassroots movement, the Reagan Revolution, where millions of men and women, individual citizens, said, there is a better way, let's get back to the principles this country was founded on. I think we're at a very similar moment in time, and so I'm committed to doing everything I can to encourage that. You know, we've launched a national website called MakeDCListen.org, MakeDCListen.org. It provides a portal for people to go and upload their stories about Obamacare. You can either type it in or you can get on your iPhone and record something and tell about how Obamacare impacted your job, your family, your health care, your life, because I think stories are powerful. Too many Republicans argue like accountants, cerebrally, instead of saying these are real people suffering real harm from real messed up government
policies. Do what the Democrats do.
That's exactly.
They have good tactics, unfortunately. One more, quickly. The Senate's the battlefield. Will you guys take back the Senate in 2014?
I believe we can and should. I think the terrain is very, very favorable to it. And the biggest determinant in terms of whether or not Republicans take the Senate in 2014 is if we stand for principle. If Republicans stand strong, present a clear alternative, stand for free market principles in the Constitution, stand strong against Obamacare, I think we'll take the Senate by a significant margin. If we roll over, if we don't stand for anything, that's the easiest way not to take the Senate.
Senator, thank you so much. Really a pleasure. Really a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
All right, there you go, Senator Ted Cruz. And he went on to speak as a keynote speaker later that night, on Saturday night at Restoration Weekend. And my impression of him was so affected by sitting across from him and talking to him and hearing him speak to the crowd without notes, wireless mic, walking around. He's just a whole different person than the media presents him as. And until you get to meet him or see him, or you're going to be bamboozled. So don't be bamboozled. Let this be a training ground for who Ted Cruz really is. All right, folks, we're coming back. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet staff and advisors include former CIA officers. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Center on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malsbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malsberg.
All right, folks, hour number 2 of the Big Steve Malsberg Show. Welcome back. And coming up a little bit later in the show, Ann Coulter will be here, Dr. Ben Carson, in an interview we did at Restoration Weekend down in Palm Beach over the weekend. But joining us right now is Ira Stoll. He's editor of FutureOfCapitalism.com, and he is former vice president and managing editor of the New York Sun. And most importantly, perhaps, by the way, you could read his columns at Newsmax.com, but most importantly right now, he is the author of a very new provocative book, JFK Conservative. And welcome to the studio. Appreciate you coming in.
Glad to be here.
All right, so, it's been said over and over by the left that, Ronald Reagan could never be accepted by today's Republican Party. And I've maintained, you're the expert, but I've maintained, I guess superficially, that JFK would never recognize and could never fit in to today's Democratic Party.
I think that's exactly right. So I write in this book, JFK Conservative, that Kennedy was a tax cutter. He believed in peace through strength. He increased military spending while keeping a tight rein on domestic spending. He appointed to the Supreme Court the justice who wrote the dissenting opinion in the abortion case of Roe v. Wade. So for all those reasons, Kennedy was a conservative by the standards of both his time and ours.
Now, you write that one of the things in his description of the Soviet Union and how he viewed the Soviet Union, he saw them as godless.
That's right.
And that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the religious aspect of Kennedy is sort of underestimated. People knew he was the first Catholic president, but he was really a religious man. He went to Mass every Sunday. He prayed before he went to bed at night. And he really saw this Cold War battle as a face-off between America, where rights came from God, and the evil, godless Soviet Union.
Notwithstanding, his infidelities, widely reported and all, I don't think that, and people who want to mock what you just said will say that, but, sometimes there is a disconnect between how people act and what they believe, and I think it's important to make that distinction and say that he did go to church and he did believe that the Soviet Union, and one of the reasons they were evil was because it was a godless society against a society based on a Judeo-Christian ethic.
Right. I say there's not that much sex in my book, but don't let that deter you from buying it.
That's a good way to say. Now Reagan said the same thing. About the Soviet Union,
the evil
being
empire, a lot of those lines where Reagan said the evil empire, Kennedy said the same thing. He said this is a battle of good versus evil, right versus wrong.
Now, I've talked to some people also who I think it was, if I have my facts straight, it was Ethel Kennedy, Rose Kennedy, who once said that or one of the Kennedys claimed that JFK would favor a woman's right to choose or whatever. And then it might have been Rose Kennedy or somebody who dispelled that notion and pointed to writings by John F. Kennedy about life and that to indicate that he was indeed would have been pro-life today.
Well, he was on the record during the 1960 presidential campaign. Somebody asked him about population control, which was a big issue at the time.
Right.
And he said that, in Japan they enforced abortion, and he said most Americans would find that repugnant. And I think that combined with the Supreme Court appointment that I talked about before, appointing the dissenting justice in Roe v. Wade, I think make a pretty good case that he would have been pro-life. He was in favor of the death penalty. So on social issues, he was much less liberal than I think a lot of people would think today.
And the left has reacted, strongly to your book, trying to tear down, because if you could take down their, one of their early icons, who they would claim would be, would love Obama and would love. Look at his daughter Caroline Kennedy now. Even though there was a rift with Obama at one point, she was a strong supporter from the beginning. She's now ambassador to Japan. What's been their main criticism of what you've written and what you've had to say?
Well, one thing they talk about is the tax cuts. When I talk about Kennedy as a tax cutter, they say, well, the tax rates then were 91%. Of course he wanted to cut taxes. Well, I point out that the capital gains tax rate then was 25%. And Kennedy wanted to cut even that to 19.5%, which is lower than the rate it is now, which is 23.8%, the top rate. And his Treasury Secretary, Douglas Dillon, wanted to cut taxes even past that point. So I think as a tax cutter, it's very hard to make the case that Kennedy was not a conservative.
Yeah, absolutely. Tax cutter and everything else that you just mentioned. We're talking to Ira Stoll. He's the author of a great new book, JFK Conservative, at a time when there's so many JFK books, and I'm not knocking them. I've had many of the authors on, and so many of them are exciting to read. But so many conspiratorial theory type books, and that aspect of the anniversary. I think yours is a refreshing look at JFK. Talk about the Berlin speech. I mean, you talk about him being tough on national defense, strong on defense. His opposition to the Soviet Union, of course, the Cuban Missile Crisis, and his speech in Berlin. I just can't imagine any Democrat today standing strong or tall on any of those things. But talk about what the speech meant and what it indicated to you.
Right. Well, so liberals make this case that at the end of his career, Kennedy turned left on the Cold War. And they point to an American University speech, which was sort of dovish, although they edited out the hawkish lines of the speech in their books. My book restores those lines, and it points out that after he gave the dovish speech, he went to Berlin and said, anyone who thinks we can work with the communists, let them come to Berlin. And he said those words right from his heart, and I think he believed it.
What about the Vietnam War? Had Kennedy lived, I think Jeff Greenfield is quoted in a book that he wrote called If Kennedy Lived, that JFK never would have escalated the Vietnam War. Do you believe that?
Well, he did escalate the Vietnam War during the 3 years of his presidency. You can go to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington. You see the list of names in each year, 1961, 1962, 1963. It gets bigger. And he sent more troops there. And this claim that he would have withdrawn from Vietnam only started getting made in the 1970s after the war turned sour. When his advisors were asked in 1964 if he had plans to withdraw, they said no.
Right. Could JFK have withstood the media scrutiny of today from his personal, from the viewpoint of his personal infidelities and everything that went on with him? Or would the media have left him alone? I doubt it, or maybe they would have. I don't know, but they've left Barack Obama alone on many, many issues, even admitted previous drug use as a college student. So I don't know what they would have forgiven for Kennedy. But how would he have functioned besides? Well, what would he have been today? Would he have been a Republican, an independent, a rebellious Democrat, an old blue dog? What would he have been today?
Well, I think the closest evidence we have is Senator Joe Lieberman in Connecticut, who ran in the Democratic primary and lost to Ned Lamont, who was a descendant of one of Kennedy's most vicious critics during the Kennedy years. And then he ran as an independent, and he was for a strong military. He was for some tax cuts. So, Kennedy, I think today would be either an independent or a Republican.
That's very, very interesting. I mean, it must really tick off the left to hear you say that. But you're absolutely right, and I've said that over and over again, because you can't find one thing in the Democratic platform from, let's say, the most recent from 2012 that I could think of. Nothing major, whether it's economics, whether it's national defense, whether it's anything Obama's doing that the Democrats are marching in lockstep with, foreign policy, domestic policy, that I could picture Kennedy saying, yeah, I would support that. Could you?
I don't think so. And you're right, it is driving the left crazy. And Reagan used to say it drove the left crazy when he talked about Kennedy. It made them tear their hair out.
Well, it's a good sign, and I really do urge folks as we approach the 50th anniversary, JFK Conservative. If you haven't considered that before, it's a whole new line of thinking that'll open up for you, and I suggest that you get the book. Ira Stoll, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure.
All right, folks, we're going to come back, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Niger Innis, who has an announcement to make right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't you go away. Newsmax TV and radio.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, folks, welcome back. As I have mentioned throughout the show, I had the pleasure of being down at David Horowitz's Restoration Weekend over the weekend in Palm Beach, Florida. Where it was cloudy, but that's okay. Everything was happening at the Breakers Hotel anyway. And one of the first people I saw who actually had his room just a couple of doors down from me, so I got to ask him if I was quiet enough for him. My friend Niger Innis, national spokesman for CORE, Congress of Racial Equality, and chief strategist for the TeaParty.net. Hello, Niger.
Hey, Steve. I'm still trying to wipe the sleep out of my eyes for all the noise that you made.
No,
well, you are a wild man, Maltberg.
Oh yeah, I'm still. I don't know how I'm ever going to pay off the bill for trashing the room. You know, I got the rock star in me. I like to trash hotel rooms. What can I say? No, but in all seriousness, it was great to see you, and I, as always, regards to your dad. And you know, you gave a great talk on the panel that you were on. I believe it was on Saturday, and of course, you told me something, and you told it to the audience that was watching your panel. So why don't you tell us about your future political plans, sir?
Well, thank you, Steve, and of course, I was just teasing about the
I
noise.
know, yeah.
But well, my attorney says that until it is official and until I file paperwork, I cannot say that I am a candidate for Congress. But I can say that I'm giving very serious, prayerful consideration, and I've been doing it for a couple of months all over the 4th Congressional District in Nevada, which comprises North Las Vegas, which is its own separate east, in middle Nevada. So I am very seriously thinking of taking on Mr. Stephen Horsburgh, who is not much more than an Obama clone and a Harry Reid rubber stamp. And the status quo is just not working for the citizens of our great state and my city of North Las Vegas. And it's time for a change.
All right. Now, you know, to me, it's just has always been an inevitability that you would one day do this. I'm frankly shocked that you know, this hasn't happened sooner.
Well, Steve, we've been friends for many, many years, and I actually did anticipate on running for political office at some point. I actually assumed that political office would be in New York, my hometown. I'm a native of New York, born in the Bronx and raised in Harlem, as you know. But my travels, you know, life is full of twists and turns and unpredictable circumstances, and some wonderful opportunities for CORE developed on the West Coast, as we call Nevada, and we've just grown and expanded, and actually, interestingly enough, we've expanded into the Latino community, or should I say the Latino community has expanded to CORE. I actually walk into my office every day, and I'm the minority within my own office.
Well, no, that's a great. I mean, that's a great thing. The expansion, and I mean, CORE is a wonderful organization. It has been for so many years. I mean, your dad started in, was it 68?
Yes, he became chair in 68, and CORE has been around since 1942, but most folk know the modern CORE, which really started under my dad, Roy Innes, and yeah, that's right, he started in 1968.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you especially motivated by the Obamacare fiasco? Do you view that there's an opportunity that may not have presented itself otherwise, a mood within your district that reflects the mood around the country that is, you know, this just can't be. The president lied. Every Democrat voted for it, and now it's time to make changes. And of course, the House, especially the Senate, hopefully picking up seats. Is this a tide that you hope to ride, or is this something you would have done anyway?
I think this is something that I would have done anyway. There's no question that the Obamacare debacle and the initial arrogance of the administration and of the President of the United States in terms of basically saying, well, you know, you people are too stupid, and these health care plans that you had were just not sufficient enough. I, as the master of the universe, knows better than you do what kind of health care you need. I think that arrogance and this government takeover of 1/6 of our economy is death, and the fact that it has backfired so badly. And as you know, Steve, for this debacle to be even somewhat salvageable, you have to attract young people. They call them the invincibles, the young and healthy people, to keep the premiums down for the rest of us in the exchange. Well, the real disaster, and it's funny that not enough people talk about this, the real disaster of the website is that young people are more technologically inclined than you and I are.
Absolutely.
And if they go to a site and that thing is not working, they're not going back to that site. They don't have faith in that institution. They don't have faith in the bureaucracy that ruined that site in the first place. So that's a disaster for Obamacare. And there's no question that there's a huge pendulum swing taking place within the country, and even before Obamacare, that this government is just getting too large. It's getting too much into our business, into our own lives. And as Lord Acton said, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
We're talking to Niger Innis here on the Steve Malzberg Show. We've got a couple of minutes here. I just want to ask you, as far as if you get to Washington, are you one of those who, if he does seek the speakership again, and I'm hearing that it's very possible that John Boehner will not seek another term as Speaker of the House of Representatives. Are you one of those who will look for the let's just say the Tea Party type leader who might be running, or would you be one of those who would cast your vote for Eric Cantor or Congressman McCarthy?
I would look very closely at the situation. Obviously I represent, as a chief strategist of the Tea Party.net, one of the largest national Tea Party groups in the country. Obviously, my leanings are going to be towards Tea Party type of individuals that can lead the Republican Party. Having said that, though, I do recognize in the case of Boehner and the case of McConnell in the Senate, the job of a leader is to not only be the leader of the overwhelming ideological sentiment within the party and the new energy within the party, which of course is the Tea Party faction, but it's actually to be leader of even Senator Olympia Snowe. It's actually to be leader of Pete King.
Right, you got to be the leader of the entire party. Listen, Niger, I'm up against a hard break. When you make it official, come back on, and we'll talk some more.
That's a date, my friend.
Thank you. Niger Innis, Steve.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurity311.com. At SocialSecurity311.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurity311.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says this website is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurity311.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurity311.com. SocialSecurity311.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers. Is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Conj Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's LIMBEX joint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Special. That's the METABIO.com/special. While supplies last. TheMatabio.com/special.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
That would be me. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Coming up later in the program, folks, Ann Coulter will be here. We'll also have an exclusive interview with Dr. Ben Carson. We did it over the weekend at Restoration Weekend. All right. When Yasser Arafat, when this whole nonsense started with Yasser Arafat was poisoned, actually it started way before they came out with the conclusion. I smelled a rat, and that rat wasn't just Arafat himself. That was a whole conspiratorial, rat. And I knew that they were going to try to pin this eventually down the road on Israel, and that's exactly what they're doing. Joining us now to talk about this is Dr. Paul Bonicelli. He happens to be Executive Vice President of Regent University and former delegate to the United Nations General Assembly. Hello, sir. Glad you could join us.
Steve, how are you?
I'm okay. Like I said, I smelled a rat from the very beginning because, this announcement a couple of weeks ago that, yes, he was poisoned. And this started a while ago, months and months ago, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Absolutely. The Swiss scientists were working on it for a while, and the media was eager to finally have a story, which they promoted for 2 or 3 days until it began to look kind of silly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, nobody said anything. At first, they said, we're going to investigate this and find out how it could happen. We'll hunt down the suspects. And then it came out that folks within the Palestinian Authority were saying there is no suspect except Israel. It was Israel. It had to be Israel. And I said, even before they said that, but after the finding, quote unquote, I said, what's going to happen here is they're going to bank this for a while, and they're going to keep it and use it as a possible excuse for another intifada one day. All they have to do is announce, yep, it was Israel, they killed him, and then the intifada starts. Talk about, as your piece states, that if Arafat was poisoned, don't look to Israel, is what you wrote, and explain that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of the first places to look is that snake pit of Ramallah. Why in the world wouldn't it have been one of the Palestinian leaders that were his rivals? I mean, the man had rivals his entire career, even to the very end, even when he was clearly aged and ailing from something. So there are a lot of possibilities. One possibility is they're trying to cover up that maybe he had AIDS. So the idea that it was Israel has motive, yeah. Israel has the ability, yeah. But that doesn't prove it, especially when there are so many other motivations and so many other bad actors in that region.
And as you write, we'll never know for sure. I mean, who are these doctors? Where's the proof? How are we going to find out whether or not he was poisoned? There was traces here. There were traces there. They supposedly dug up his old underwear. I mean, the whole thing, as you said, until they even the media, after a while, realized that this was kind of bizarre.
No, absolutely. And then they went out and checked with other polonium experts, and the one I read about made the most interesting comment. Well, it was a very difficult task for them. It was sort of like a scientist who grabs an elephant by the tail and tries to judge his weight by that. It's really hard to do, but there's a remote possibility you could figure out the way. This is absurd. And the Swiss scientists probably should have been clearer in their first report about whether or not this was really a strong possibility. But the media, as I said, they jumped on it and went for 2 or 3 days writing stories that sounded like this was really fairly reliable, and then by about day 4, they began to raise the questions, particularly when Israel spoke up.
Why would Israel? And you say they didn't. So let me rephrase it. Why wouldn't Israel want him dead? In other words, he wasn't that big a thorn in their side. I mean, they had worse problems, correct?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, there were downsides to assassinating him. Assassination is usually not a very good idea. I would say it's sometimes useful and sometimes helpful, but most of the time it just creates more problems for you. But Israel, by then, Arafat was not that big of a factor. He was definitely a thorn in our side and a thorn in Israel's side, but it is not as though he was a crusader leading armies anywhere, and was fairly well contained in his little hava there in Ramallah.
Now, in your capacity, sir, and by the way, we're talking to Dr. Paul Bonicelli, Executive Vice President of Regent University, former delegate to the United Nations General Assembly, and you were nominated by President Bush and confirmed by the Senate to serve as Assistant Administrator for Latin America and the Caribbean, overseeing all foreign assistance programs in that region. And so let me ask you, when it comes to this administration and what you're seeing happening, we could talk about, spend an hour talking about world politics and what this country, what this administration has done to our relationships in the Middle East. But particularly, let's focus for the moment on Israel. I mean, I wouldn't put it past this administration to never rule out that it couldn't have been Israel that poisoned Yasser Arafat. I mean, here what we found out in recent days is that John Kerry, and not only publicly rebutting what Prime Minister Netanyahu has said about a possible Iranian deal, but behind closed doors, according to senators who were there, bad-mouthing Israel and Netanyahu to the senators. So, I mean, and it was William Crystal who told me that United States relations have reached an all-time low. I mean, is this a huge area of concern for you?
Absolutely. When the French are Israel's best friends in the world right now.
And the Saudis, possibly, too.
And the Saudis, absolutely. I mean, I'm grateful for the French position here. It's a Gaullist position. Charles de Gaulle, I like that. Whenever they can sort of rub our face in it and be more prominent on a particular issue. I think the French also have a lot of relationship with the Saudis, and the Saudis, of course, are fearful of Iran. But this is of a piece with this administration's entire approach to the Middle East, particularly the Israel-Palestinian problem. They pretend like these are two morally relative positions, and that we need to be in between them, sorting it out. No, Israel is a democracy. Israel is our ally. It is impossible for the United States to be on the wrong side of this and anything good to come. And so your first question about would they ever rule out, would the Obama administration ever rule out Israel did this? No, I don't think so, because they'd like to look like they're playing fair on this, and I think that's a mistake.
And now when
the Middle East, I was going to say the Arab powers only respect a strong U.S., and we need to act like that.
Yeah, and also before I let you go, without having you weigh in based on your position at Regent University, which of course offers degrees from a Christian perspective in many different fields of endeavor, this administration and its attack on religious freedom has got to be another area of concern for you in that capacity.
Huge area of concern, in addition to not defending people around the world for their religious rights.
Well, the Christians who are being slaughtered all over, the Middle East and parts of Africa, and it's the Muslims attacking them, burning churches and schools. Yeah, and our media is silent, our government's silent, the world is silent. That I'll never understand.
No, you're exactly right. It's open season on Christians, whether they're Coptic or evangelical or whoever they are. It's a real shame because, again, it promotes weakness, and this is a national security issue. This is not just about religious liberty. I care a lot about that, but it's also the security of the United States and how we're perceived by our enemies. And right now we're perceived as weaklings.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, a pleasure talking to you, Doctor. Thank you very much.
You too, Steve. Thanks.
Take care. Dr. Paul Bonicelli, Executive VP of Regent University, former delegate to the United Nations General Assembly, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I told you. I mean, there are certain things that are no-brainers. And understanding how the Palestinian PR machine operates and has always operated, and how the media will acquiesce and just nod in agreement and take anything that the Palestinian and the the Arab PR machine, when it comes to presenting Israel in a negative light, they hunger for that kind of information. So when they get it, they eat it up without question. They don't look to see if there's any fat on it. They don't look to see if it's cooked. They just eat it up because they are hungry and starving for anything anti-Israel they could get their hands on, for the most part. Not all media outlets, but generally speaking. So when this Arafat poisoning came, I knew it had disaster written all over it, and we have not seen or heard the end of this story. As I predicted, they're banking this. Now they've already made it clear. They've decided that it was Israel. This is the Palestinian leadership. Israel's the only suspect we heard, and now they put that away. So when they need to pull out an intifada, that'll be one of the major contributing factors to the next intifada. I hope it never happens, but when and if it does, that will be brought up. Israel poisoned Arafat, and believe me, that'll be taught in every classroom that the Palestinian children go to, along with kill the Jew. The Jews are pigs and monkeys. We'll take Jerusalem with our blood, all that kind of stuff. And that's the sickness of the Palestinian society. And that's the sickness of ever thinking Israel could make peace with the Palestinians. They don't want peace. Netanyahu just said yesterday, we want peace. Let the Palestinians first, which they now have backtracked on, which they have never really done, but now have said they won't. They won't accept Israel as a Jewish state. Netanyahu said yesterday, I forget what I was watching, CNN, Candy Crowley. That's what I was watching before getting on my airplane to come home. My airplane. On the airplane to come home. He said, hey, we want peace. Let the Palestinians show they want peace. Let them start by saying, yes, Israel is and will be a Jewish state. That's too much for them. That's too much for them because they don't believe it. They believe in a two-state solution. And their idea of a two-state solution are two Palestinian states. The state of Israel, which maybe they'll consent to even keeping it called Israel. The state of Israel, which will be overrun by Palestinians because they envision a right of return, which is all the Palestinians who they say were kicked out of Israel when Israel was formed, kicked out of their land, quote unquote. Well, those original people who were quote unquote kicked out, and every ancestor, every offspring, every the generation that would have come from their loins will have a right of return. So Israel will become overrun by Palestinians, and then a new Palestinian state right next to it. So there's your two-state solution. Two Palestinian states. One of them could be called Israel, but it's not going to be a Jewish state. Jews will become the minority, and then they'll be treated, the way every other country treats the Palestinians in their country. It's sick. The whole thing is sick. And again, when you have a culture where your kids are taught from birth, from the kindergarten, from watching TV, like our kids watch Sesame Street and Mickey Mouse, when their Mickey Mouse tells them, we will kill the Jews. We will take Jerusalem with our blood. What do you expect the kids to grow up to be? Now, these prisoners who were released by Israel foolishly. Shame on Israel for releasing these murderers. These murderers with blood on their hands who killed Israeli civilians, okay? Even killed a Holocaust survivor, one of them, with an axe, and he got released. They were welcomed home as heroes. As heroes. And the Palestinian kids get trading cards with their pictures on them. They name soccer stadiums after them. They name sports teams after them. And this is who the kids grew up worshiping. Suicide, homicide bombers who kill civilians. How could you have any kind of negotiation with a society like that? Why would you want to have anything to do with a society like that? The textbooks, worse than the Saudi textbooks. What can I say? But the Saudi relationship, the reports now are that Israel and Saudi Arabia are plotting and planning to possibly bomb Iran. They have found the commonality of survival. That's what they found. Because neither Israel nor Saudi Arabia can count on the United States anymore. So they found each other, reportedly. How's that for strange bedfellows? I ask you. When we come back, we're going to have our friend Christopher Parker. Oprah says criticism of Obama is racist. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's Bactipro.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
Have you hit a brick wall with your weight loss? Does your weight management plan need an extra edge for success? If so, listen up. Metabio is the revolutionary weight loss breakthrough designed to help you reach your goal weight as part of your diet and exercise program. Metabio is the premium nutritional supplement power-packed with 5 high-quality ingredients. When used as part of a healthy lifestyle, each component is formulated to help you reach your goals and maintain your optimal weight and wellness. It supports healthy metabolism and promotes fat loss. Now, learn how you can try a 30-day supply of Metabio. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit themetabio.com/special. Act now and also receive instant access to our downloadable special report, a practical guide to healthy weight management. Try it now at themetabio.com/special. That's the metabio.com/special. While supplies last. themetabio.com/special.
634-0482. Call Lear Capital now, 800-634-0482.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
I think that there's a level of disrespect for the office that occurs, and that occurs in some cases and maybe even many cases because he's African American.
There it goes again. There it goes again. Oprah, who had low-keyed it when it comes to Obama. She didn't really participate in the rollout of Obamacare, which is probably a smart move because I guess she felt she alienated half her audience when she supported Obama the first time around, or for whatever reason. But there she is again, claiming that a lot of the negative talk, or what she calls disrespect for Obama, is because of racism. Sharing that view, as we've previously discussed, is our friend Christopher Parker, political science professor, University of Washington, and co-author of Change They Can't Believe In, The Tea Party and Reactionary Politics in America. Hello, Christopher. How are you?
I'm fine, Steve. It's been far too long. What's going on, my man?
No, it's been a number of weeks. I'm glad you're back. We got to do it. We got to do it regularly, every week or two. Absolutely. Okay. All right. So we've been down this road, but so I'm not going to get into the whole intricacies of how you come to that scientific agreement. But on the surface, you agree with Oprah.
I do.
Okay. Well, you could expand a little bit. I mean, but look now, would you agree that I mean, look at the approval ratings. Look at where they were, okay, when Obama was elected as a black man. When Obama was elected, I mean, 68% approval, whatever, or, positive image, honesty through the roof, 70s. Look at it now. Look at it now. It's dropped into the approval rating into the 30s. Think he's dishonest and honest and trustworthy is way below 50%. Over 50% think he's not. But don't you think it's attributable to this lying about Obamacare, for instance, and not because he's black?
Well, you know what? I think you're right, Steve. Let me qualify that, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I would never dare say that it's all about racism, that racism is dispositive. I would never say that because I don't think that's true, and it's not empirically true. As far as what's going on right now with his approval ratings, I mean, of course, some of that has to be attributed to, what he said about people being able to keep their insurance and them, in fact, not being able to keep their insurance. However, Steve, I think it's really glossed over by folks on the right in that the insurance policies that they're going to get is actually better. Now, that doesn't make me lose sight of the fact that, that it didn't really happen, that they were able to keep their policy. So, I'm disappointed in that myself, to be quite honest with you.
Right, and I don't want to make this a healthcare debate, but how could you say it's going to be better? You don't know each individual policy that's going to be offered. If you're going to say to me they'll have more coverage, that's probably true because the Obamacare mandates that we all have maternity coverage, even me and you, that we all have drug rehabilitation coverage, even me and you, coverage we don't want and we don't need, that we are going to be forced to pay for. So when you say it's going to be better coverage, better according to who? The government?
Better in terms of the public good, Steve.
Oh, the public good.
Public good, Steve, yes.
That's that trumps all. So we all have to be forced to have maternity coverage and pay for it because that's for the good of the public.
Yeah, that mental health coverage, all that stuff is good for the public, Steve. Aren't we all Americans, Steve?
Why would I pay for maternity? If I got car insurance, why would I pay for, the maximum coverage and have things that, why would I insure myself for stuff I don't have? I mean, it just makes no sense. This is government intrusion. This is Soviet-style government intrusion. Hugo Chavez from hell is looking up and applauding, man. He's applauding.
But Steve, but you didn't answer my question. We're all Americans, yes, and we're all in this together, are we not?
I don't know what that means. We're all in this together. So you can make me buy insurance that I don't need or want and pay for it under threat of penalty because I'm an American and you're an American? No, that's not how the country works.
Well, but Steve, isn't American identity about, we're all in this together, right? We all believe in equality, fairness, democracy.
So you go get your insurance and I'll get my insurance. Why do I have to be told what to do?
Well, but because it's about the welfare of the public good.
What does that mean? Who is being denied health treatment in this country? Who? If you were sick, you walked into an emergency room. Who? I mean, if you didn't have insurance, who was stopping anybody from getting a policy, deciding what they need for them and their family, and going out and getting it? I don't understand.
But Steve, at what cost, though?
What do you mean at what cost? I'll tell you, most people who have their policies canceled now are seeing their premiums rise. And here's another little ditty, as they say, a word that's going to be learned very quickly by youngsters and middle-aged people alike: deductible. They might think, oh, yeah, you could get subsidies for your premiums, but then your deductible's $5,000, and you got a policy, but you got to pay the first $5,000. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, but Steve, some people are eligible for having the deductible subsidized as well, Steve. So let's not gloss over that.
I don't believe deductibles are subsidized at all. I could be wrong, but I've talked to people about this, and I asked, am I right? So I don't think deductibles are subsidized. It's the premiums.
No, but Steve, there is a means test according to deductible. The deductible rate is means tested as well.
All right, listen. You know what? Next week we'll do it at 30 minutes after, and that you don't think it's all race based because that's insanity. But I thank you. We'll speak to you very soon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Christopher Parker, political science professor, University of Washington, and co-author of.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed. Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
The debt bomb is ticking. U.S. Treasury says our national debt will hit $28 trillion by 2018. Every second you keep your savings in paper investments, the national debt destroys your savings and your retirement. But just as the national debt has more than tripled in the last decade, so has gold. Gold rises with debt more than any other asset on Earth. So as the national debt doubles in the next 5 years, where do you think your savings and IRA need to be? Gold. Call now to get your free book. Rescue your savings from the national debt disaster. Call 1-800-226-8106. Free book and free gold IRA guide. 1-800-226-8106. Stop the government from stealing your savings through reckless spending. Get your free book. Rescue your savings from the national debt disaster. 1-800-226-8106. 1-800-226-8106. 1-800-226-8106.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Five, 4, 3, 2,
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling toll-free 1-877-Newsmax. That's 1-877-639-7629. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
And welcome to hour number 3 of the Big Steve Malzberg Show. And joining us right now is the one and only Ann Coulter, who really needs no introduction, but I will give her one anyway, especially to tell you all that the best-selling author has a brand new one that's been out a few weeks now. Never Trust a Liberal Over 3, especially a Republican. Hello, Ann.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm fine. So I trust you made it back from Restoration Weekend?
Yes, that was fun. I'm sorry we didn't set up an interview while you were there.
That's okay. That's okay. You were busy, and we're doing it now, so that's good. So we can look back on it. I mean, I was, I think, a table behind you when Ted Cruz gave his keynote on Saturday night at the dinner. He's just so different in person. It's the first time I met him. I interviewed him right before he gave the interview, and he's just so different in person than he is, watching him from afar.
You think so?
You don't think so? I liked his speech. I thought he was personable. I thought he joked, but I think the media has made him out to be such a villain. And unless you get beyond that, it's kind of hard to see. In anticipation of the interview, I thought, I know he'll be respectful and all, but I wondered how nice he would be. But he's a real nice person.
Oh, yes, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Compared to the media spin.
Yeah.
So, if he's not Attila the Hun, he's going to be better than that. I was not expecting him to be Attila the Hun. And, when he did that 22-hour, whatever it was, the speech on the Senate floor, he was very charming and funny and smart. I was tweeting out that night around 4 a.m. I couldn't take my eyes off it. That I learned more watching him and Mike Lee for about 3 hours than I did in 3 years of law school.
I'm sure. Was that the highlight of the event for you, watching or listening to his speech? I know Ben Carson gave a great speech as the keynote the night before. There were a lot of great people up there talking.
Yeah, it was fun. In addition to Cruz, the highlight for me was Gavin McInnes. Did you see his panel?
Yes.
He's fantastic.
Yes.
I knew I would love him.
That was great.
He's very, very funny, and I think very good.
Well, I'm glad. All right, let's move on. I want you to hear something that only Nancy Pelosi could say. This was yesterday. Here's cut number 13. Let's give a listen to cut 13.
But I agree with Mr. Hoyer. What's the thing in the Affordable Care Act that said that your insurance company should cancel you? That's not what the Affordable Care Act is about. It simply didn't happen. Did I ever tell my constituents that if they like their plan, they could keep it? I would have if I'd ever met anybody who liked his or her plan.
I mean, how pathetic. How pathetic. 'Cause I don't even want to say what I think of her, but how pathetic.
So she never met anyone who liked. I guess she needs to get out more.
Everybody hates their insurance and is so thankful Obama's taking their policies away so they can have maternity coverage if they're a man and drug addiction coverage if they're, straight and off drugs. It's just wonderful.
No, I know. That really is a pretty amazing quote. I would have told them that if I had met them. Huh. Well, I do. I mean, they are going to power through it. I think it's quite a mess. And people are going to keep getting their notices in the mail, and they're going to keep realizing, oh, my gosh, my insurance is through the roof. I don't want to pay for this. I didn't ask for this. I can't get the insurance I want. But from reading the New York Times coverage, they seem to be intent on assuring Democrats, no, don't worry, you don't have to vote to repeal this. Just hang on. Everybody's going to like it eventually. I don't think everybody is going to like it eventually. And Democrats, I mean, all politicians, the one thing they know really well is how to read public opinion. So I don't know. I think we might be able to get Obamacare repealed even before Republicans take the Senate, as I hope they will. But if not, that's why I keep saying Republicans concentrate on winning. It's all that matters. Not one Senate Democrat voted against Obamacare, and not one Republican in the entire Congress voted for it.
Yeah.
So don't tell me there's not a difference between the parties. to hand him papers.
2 seconds before he needs them. Otherwise, he'll lose them. So how do you get familiar with anything in 2 seconds before you need it?
No, this is just braggartness. And if he thinks this is going to get him out of the lies about Obama.
No, but this was 08. This was in 08.
No, I know. I know.
Yeah.
But his lies about Obamacare, I mean, a crucial point that I think is maybe being lost because we're so flabbergasted by the fact that Democrats have the audacity to say it's a misstatement, as the New York Times put it. He misspoke. No, it was not only a deliberate lie, it had a purpose. There was no way Obamacare would have passed if he had told the truth about it. This is an intentional lie that was strategically important for him to make. And now we're finding out, as Nancy Pelosi said, we have to pass it to find out what's in it. Well, we're finding out what's in it, and it's not very popular.
Right, and Kirsten Gillibrand said the same thing, Obama knew it wasn't true, I'm paraphrasing, but he had to do that or it never would have gotten passed. So the ends justify the means. But I want to move on in the next couple of minutes that we have. Did you hear what Martin Bashir said about Sarah Palin?
Why, yes, I did.
Okay, well, wishing, after putting it in a context and basically wishing that she would be defecated on and urinated on. And nothing has happened to Martin Bashir.
Specifically
nothing.
In her mouth.
Yes, in her mouth.
Someone needs to defecate in her mouth.
Yes. How can MSNBC not do anything? Go ahead. Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. But how could, Alec Baldwin makes another anti-gay slur, and they suspended him for 2 weeks. But I guess, they have more respect for insulting gays than they do for a former vice presidential candidate who's a woman and one of their hosts wishing. I've never heard a host say anything like this. This doesn't even cross the line. This goes over the cliff.
It's shocking. It's shocking. In fact, I heard someone mention it, and I thought it was just, a hyperbolic joke. And then I went online. Oh my gosh, he really did say this. And not that your listeners want to hear this, but in defense of Alec Baldwin, I don't think the guy he was talking, he's a photographer. He's not actually gay. This was just a curse word. It was like using the F word. And frankly, I think a lot of these paparazzi photographers deserve it. It's not something Alec Baldwin said, in a calm moment on television. He has been harassed horribly by photographers and now this stalker, and he's trying to protect his family, and he curses. That is what happened.
Yeah, but he cursed, but he then called them the F word, derogatory to gays.
No, I know, but when do conservatives care about somebody using a word, especially a word not said, that is said in a moment of anger? He may as well have called them, and well.
So do you think they should? You think they should not have suspended him?
I think they shouldn't have suspended him, and mostly I think conservatives should not join the word police. I understand the instinct to do so, since any conservative who said it in his sleep.
And I got to go, but if it were you, you're hounded by photographers all the time, maybe not to that extent, but if you had said it, what would have happened?
That's the only argument for conservatives. We do not believe in the word.
All right. Ann Coulter, the great Ann Coulter, thank you. We'll speak to you again soon. The book.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at aftbook.com. That's aftbook.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
What is LiGNet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Do you suffer from joint discomfort? Contrary to what the experts may say, achy joints do not have to be a normal part of aging. Holistic doctor David Brownstein challenged conventional thinking to focus on natural solutions for joint health. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Limbex, the premium nutritional supplement specifically formulated to support healthy joints and connective tissue. It's a new joint breakthrough formula containing 11 hand-picked nutrients. Learn more at limbexjoint.com/special and take the 30-day Healthy Joint Challenge. That's a 30-day supply of the Limbex Joint Supplement. All you pay is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Happy, Healthy Joints at Any Age. You can do something about joint discomfort and flexibility. Learn how you can try it for 30 days at limbexjoint.com/special. That's limbexjoint.com/special. limbexjoint.com/special.
Men, this is the time in your life when you have more freedom to travel, more time for leisure, including an active lifestyle, even a renewed intimacy. The last thing you want is the hassle of an aging prostate. Frequent trips to the bathroom also keep you awake at night. But here's good news. Renowned physician Dr. David Brownstein believes that prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. As a result, Dr. Brownstein has recently developed Prostate Revive, the dietary supplement specifically formulated to help improve and sustain normal prostate function. Learn more about how you can receive a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive. Just cover a $4.95 shipping fee. Visit prostaterevive.com/special for complete details. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate, while supplies last. Try Prostate Revive for 30 days at prostaterevive.com/special. That's prostaterevive.com/special.
.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Have I done drugs? Yes, I have. But it's self-inflicted.
Will you get help?
I'm not an addict of any sort. I'm not quite sure why you're saying I need help.
All right, folks. To me, I am so sick of this story. I am so sick, and I don't know what to make of this mayor of Toronto. I don't know what to make of Rob Ford, if he's really cracking up or if this is just his personality and how he normally acts. And, I fear that they could push him over the edge. Joining us now to talk about all this is City Hall Bureau Chief for the Toronto Sun, Don Pete. Hey, Don.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Now, the city council was, this took place again. The mayor's brother, who's a councilman, got up and spoke, and it's like a soap opera. It's being shown live on many of the cable networks, and they were going to strip him of more of his mayoral powers. So you could tell us how that turned out today. But first and foremost, I want to know. I mean, I look at this guy, not knowing his, like I said, not knowing him except from what I've seen on television, and I see a guy being pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and defending himself in a crude sort of way, and I'm thinking, is this guy, capable maybe of being pushed to the point of doing something to himself, or is this just how he acts normally?
It's pretty much how he acts normally. He's a bombastic character. He always has been. But when he was first elected mayor back in 2010, he was kind of, in a bubble where we didn't see that kind of bombastic behavior that he was famous for a long time. He kind of kept his behavior in check. With all the stress, I think, of this ongoing crack scandal, you're starting to see the real Rob Ford throughout it. I can tell you, council is meeting today. They're just voting right now on more measures to cut his office budget and move staff beyond his control. They're doing that right now, and those votes are passing pretty handily. And right before that, the mayor gave a pretty rousing speech to council where he compared what they're doing to the invasion of Kuwait by Iraq back during the first Gulf War. And he promised council that he'll get retribution in the next election. So it was a pretty emotional speech and a pretty interesting day here at City Hall in Toronto.
I would say. What about the city councilor Pam McConnell, who he, I guess, inadvertently tackled to the ground? He helped her up. He knocked her to the ground. What was that all about?
Well, at one point during the day here, the mayor walked through the public area of the council chamber with his driver, having his driver film the audience with his cell phone camera. I believe the mayor was trying to make a point that a lot of the people in the audience are from unions or special interest groups that don't really like him that much.
Right.
That led to a recess being called at council because it got pretty out of control. The mayor then got in a shouting match with several members of the public. His brother, Councillor Doug Ford, also got into a shouting match. And while his brother was having words with someone, the mayor kind of whipped around the council chamber to come to his rescue and ended up inadvertently knocking this councillor down. She's a grandmother. She's not quick on her feet, that's for sure, and she's nursing a fat lip now after that. The mayor since apologized, says it wasn't deliberate, and was actually seen going over to give her a hug a little while later.
We're talking to the City Hall bureau chief for the Toronto Sun, Don Pete, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So he's got a TV show, right? It debuts today?
Yeah, Ford Nation is on tonight on the Sun News Network up here in Canada.
And he was urging everyone to watch him so he could tell his side of the story. Is it taped or is it going to be live?
It was taped yesterday, so it's not live.
All right, so have you gotten any inkling of as to what he has said or what it's going to be like, or you just have to watch and see?
I've got a bit of an inkling. I think what we're going to hear is the mayor continuing to, say he's apologized, he's moved on, people make mistakes, and now he needs to get back to business at the city. That's what I think he's going to say from fairly good sources. I know he's going to say that.
And what is the public support? You know, we heard James Carville, in fact, made a joke, and you would have heard more about it if he had been a Republican making this kind of joke. But James Carville, a couple of weeks ago, said the president's approval rating's in the toilet. Mayor Ford's approval rating is much higher than his. Maybe he should have whatever he said, a drag or a puff of his crack pipe. I mean, what is the public reaction at this point?
I think the public are, like yourself, are getting tired of hearing about this story because it just keeps going on and on. I think most people thought the mayor would have stepped aside or at least taken a temporary leave of absence to deal with this and kind of let the story cool down. But he's going ahead, full speed ahead. And so that's why you see this story continuing. And you see it getting picked up across the states now, too. Everyone seems quite fascinated with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not to interrupt, but I was going to say that is that what the public wants, though? I mean, do they want him to step down, or are his poll numbers still good? I don't know what the latest one was or what it shows, but do you think the sentiment is for him to step down, or is he getting more support because they feel the media and even his opposition and within the city council is just badgering him?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that agree with his policies, what he's done at the city as far as taking on the unions and trying to cut spending and, basically respect for taxpayers. That was his election campaign slogan. They agree with that. They don't necessarily agree with his personal behavior. I think the longer the story goes, though, the more people are getting sick of the pile-on, as they see it, by the media. And so the mayor could possibly ride this out even if it keeps going
and gain support. All right, so the next step is the TV show, and then what happens with the powers in the council? I mean, where do we go from here? When are those votes complete?
Well, those votes will be done in a couple minutes, and then the mayor says he's going to challenge it in court, so we'll have to see if he actually makes good on that threat. And then we'll be in election season come this January. Toronto's election campaign period is about almost 11 months long, so it should be an exciting election season out there.
You got your hands full, but on the other hand, you got your story for the next year, so there you go.
There you go.
All right, listen, thank you for your time. We'll call you again.
Talk to you later.
Take care. Don Pete, ladies and gentlemen. Very busy if the votes are going to be finished in a couple of minutes. I appreciate his time. City Hall Bureau Chief for the Toronto Sun. Just crazy, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And everybody says that he looks like Farley, what Farley would look like if he were still alive today. Anyway, when we come back, I had the opportunity when I was down in Florida over the weekend at Restoration Weekend, David Horowitz's Restoration Weekend at the Breakers in Palm Beach, Florida, to sit down and speak to Dr. Ben Carson, one-on-one, an exclusive interview. We will bring that to you. He had a very interesting plan, if he were president, that he'd like to institute for the healthcare situation. All ahead, Steve Malzberg.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
News hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream. Streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, had the opportunity to interview one of the rising stars when it comes to Republicans and conservatives, and we're talking about Dr. Ben Carson, former chief for pediatric neurosurgery, easy for me to say, at Johns Hopkins Children's Center. And, of course, he's now out there, and he is speaking different city every night, telling his story and rousing crowds. And we sat down with him. He was very low-key when we sat down at the Breakers Restoration Weekend. This was just before he was to give his keynote address on the Saturday night at the Saturday night dinner. And here's how it sounded. I said to him, "Hey, you know, you're here today. You're another city tomorrow. Another city the night after that."
It's been quite amazing as we travel across the country. Red states, blue states, north, south, east, west. Tremendous responses from people. It's like they're saying, I didn't know there was somebody else that thought the way I did. I thought I was the only weird one. That's why I keep quiet and hide under my rock.
Now, I mean, do you find that a lot from minorities? Because, I mean, I'm sure, you know, Caucasians know there's a lot like them. But I talk to so many people, African Americans on the right, and they all have the same story. You know, why do 99% of the people love Obama and blah, blah, blah. But when you allude to that, are you alluding to African Americans?
Oh, yeah. I'd say tons of African Americans and Hispanics also who aren't necessarily ready to go out and proclaim publicly that they think with common sense, but secretly, absolutely.
And why do you think that is?
Because they don't want to be ostracized.
But why doesn't the Republican Party, am I right in assuming, and I'm not making a blanket statement, I never would about anybody, but blacks and Hispanics share the values of the Republican and conservative movements when it comes to family values and religion and morals and their kids' education. So why the disconnect?
Well, it's quite intentional. There are groups of people who like to create divisions because dividing and conquering is one of Saul Alinsky's tactics. And so you try to make people feel that they can't possibly get by without you because you are their protector and their provider. And because of things that have happened historically, some people find that comforting.
And I would assume, because you said Saul Alinsky, that you're counting among those that you are alluding to as President Obama.
He certainly seems to be quite a student of that individual.
Let's talk about what's going on with the Affordable Care Act, the chaos that has ensued. When you watched the president the other day, first the exposing of the lie, and his trying to talk his way out of it, and now the fix. Take us through that and tell me what you would think of this performance, if you will.
Well, I actually feel sorry for him because, you know, he wanted so badly to be successful and to be loved and to be a hero who has brought wonderful things to the downtrodden. And, you know, many people, quite frankly, who end up perhaps not looking so good in history, started out with very lofty goals, or at least in their mind they were lofty goals. What happens is a metamorphosis occurs where you begin believing that your way is the only right way. There is no other way that really works, and if anybody doesn't believe that, it's only because they don't fully understand. And therefore, you can't really wait until they understand. You have to impose upon them. And, you know, that's what I saw. It's very difficult for people who are ideologues to accept that their ideology is wrong.
When you see the fix that the president proposed, and now he met with the insurance companies today, and now they say that the government's going to have to reimburse them $11 billion. I mean, it shows again, to me, let me ask you, does it show incompetence that the man's never run a business? How do you tell insurance companies all along, you have to do this, you have to cancel, then one day you say, oh, you could take them back, but if you take them back, you got to give them a letter, it's got to say this, it's got to say that. You know the bureaucracy involved with that? How is it even possible? You know the business, obviously,
Sure.
as a neurosurgeon. How is his fix even workable?
Well, I suspect, I don't blame him so much for not knowing anything about business. I blame him for not surrounding himself with people who do. You know, you can't be an expert in every area, but you have to know what you don't know in order to be an effective leader. And, you know, to come out with the kind of statements that he made, you know, indicates that no one around him is counseling him about the very basic things about business. You know, you have plans that go out for years, let alone, you know, months, and trying to turn something around in weeks. Are you kidding me? It's unbelievable.
The House passed a bill today with 39 Democrats voting with the Republicans that would take it a step further. It would give insurance companies, it would demand that they reinstate those policies, not give them the option, and would also allow them to keep selling policies for another year that don't comply with the regulations and the requirements and coverage of Obamacare. The 39 Democrats, I think, send a message. How do you look at that, and what is it saying to Obama and to the supporters of the Affordable Care Act? Can this ever work?
I think it's saying that we're still all just playing politics. The fact of the matter is, you know, delaying it a year, it's not going to change anything. I mean, you're still going to have to go through all this mess again. So, you know, if you know, when I was a kid and if I was to get a spanking, I'd rather just have the spanking there. I don't want to be sitting there think about it for the next, you know, several days. So, you know, we really need to be thinking about how do we actually solve this problem? And we know how not to solve it, but there are lots of ideals. You know, for people to say that there are no ideals out there and that this is the only way to go, that is blatantly untrue. What we really need to do is approach this with an open mind. Look at what our goals are. Our goals are to return health care, you know, to the practitioner and to the patient, and not have a third party making medical decisions for people. And, you know, finding an appropriate way to pay for it. That's what we want to do. How would, let's say, a President Carson go about doing that? Well, first of all, you know, I would stop duplicating things. Which means I would give everybody an electronic medical record, which can be embedded in your driver's license, a credit card, a ring on your finger. There are lots of ways to do it. I would not have it sitting, you know, on a computer somewhere where it can be stolen. Convicted felons, yeah. That's insane. Okay. And then I would give everybody a health savings account. Every single American, all 315 million, I would give a health savings account with $2,000 in it every year. And the government would put that in? The government would put that in. That would cost the government $630 billion. Sounds like a lot of money. It's not much compared to what we're spending. It's what they spent on the website. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, a third of it would have to be used for catastrophic health care. But the other part, you know, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500, most people don't spend anywhere near that per year. And it doesn't disappear like in a flexible savings account. It continues to accumulate. Additionally, you can add to it anything you want. That's just the basics, so that you can take care of basic needs for everybody. I think that's the humanitarian thing to do. I would also give people the ability to shift money in their HSAs between family members. That way, every family becomes its own insurance company. If someone gets sick, you can move it to them. Exactly. Yeah. And there's no middleman in between. Also, because you're taking care of all your routine stuff, including your birth control pills and all that, through your own HSA, now depending on somebody else to do it, the cost of your catastrophic insurance drops dramatically. And it's really used for what it should be used for, you know, major medical incidents. People learn how to shop because now they're responsible. Right. It brings the whole medical system into the free market. That's what controls costs. Government doesn't control costs. That's what creates innovation. You know, we have, you know, progressively taken things out of the free market and placed them in government where they're inefficient, where they traditionally have been inefficient, where they will always be inefficient, because that's not what the government is for. Summing up here,
when will you decide whether or not you're running for president? I've asked you that over the months. Many people have asked you that. Are you close to a decision? Are you leaning one way?
Well,
have you talked to anybody, any sitting senators perhaps, or party leaders?
I've talked to lots of people, but the way I look at it, right now, the most important thing is to continue going around the country and waking people up and letting them know that they do have power and that they don't have to sit down and take this. We got to bring courage and bravery back. Stop letting them beat you down.
Agreed, but you didn't give me an answer. Is there a time? Do you have a timetable in mind?
I think 3 years ahead of time is way too early.
Okay, and one final, back to where we started from in the interview. If you did, you know what you'll be up against. I mean, you know what the media, they're doing it to you now. They've been doing it to you. They do it to all black conservatives, male or female, Hispanics. Marco Rubio took the drink.
Right.
He's an idiot because he took a drink.
Right.
Are you prepared for that?
Well, interestingly enough, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I thought it would, and it probably would if it were coming from a source that I respected. But, most of the people who level these silly charges do it out of spite and hatred, and they have nothing to back it up with. And it's been having the Chick-fil-A effect. So
now you get me hungry, yeah. Doctor, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Great to see you.
Pleasure.
All right, there you go. Dr. Ben Carson, ladies and gentlemen. And he's an incredible story. He then went on to give his keynote address later that night. And I had the pleasure of watching him and listening to him. And he told his story, talked about his mother and working 2 jobs and, how his father, it turned out, had another family. And so it was his mother raising them. And how he, believe it or not, this brilliant man, this brilliant neurosurgeon, was a horrific student early on. Terrible student. And it bothered him, but he was a terrible student. And his mother made him and his siblings read a book a week and write a book report on it, on the books. And he joked, whether it's true or not, he said, little did we know she couldn't read. So we didn't have to really bother putting that much time into the reports, as it turned out. But nonetheless, he credits it, his turnaround, and his scholastic turnaround, to his mom. And instilling that in them and forcing them to read. And that really is, I was talking to Matt earlier, and that's the gateway. It really is a gateway. And it was certainly a changer. It certainly unleashed the potential and revealed the intelligence that already existed in Ben Carson, because obviously he is a brilliant, brilliant man. And, of course, notwithstanding what is said about him by the left. Okay, we have one final segment. I think this is our first segment without a guest. It's been very, very busy. We'll tell you about tomorrow's show, where we have Tom DeLay and Joe Scarborough and many others will be here. But we also have some sound bites and stories that you want to hear about. And your input is always welcome at 877-NEWSMAX, 877-639-7629. Right here is where it all takes place every Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV, and...
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does. Listen to what Senator Max Baucus, one of the authors of the Obamacare law, recently said.
I tell you, I just see a huge train wreck coming down, and I don't see any results yet. I just see a huge train wreck.
He's right. So protect yourself from this train wreck. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law. Join more than 500,000 Americans who have their copy. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall. I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Larry works on the construction site when he's not held up with constipation. Mary sits all day at a desk, which does little to relieve gas and bloating. You can't schedule abdominal discomfort, but you can help alleviate it with Bactipro. Developed by holistic medical doctor David Brownstein, Bactipro is the fiber probiotic supplement that comes in the form of an easy-to-eat, tasty wafer. It includes the most essential ingredients necessary to help support your healthy digestive and immune function. Experience the results. Learn how you can receive a 30-day supply of Bactipro. Just visit Bactipro.com/offer. All you cover is a $4.95 shipping fee. Act now, and you'll also be given instant access to our downloadable special report, A Doctor's Guide to Probiotics and Your Health. Do something about your digestive health now. Get your 30-day supply at Bactipro.com/offer. That's BACTIPRO.com/offer. Limited time only. Bactipro.com/offer.
800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Get off the sidelines and be a part of the show. Call Steve toll-free at 1-877-NEWSMAX. That's 1-877-639-7629. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Gwen, I am going to start with you, the reporter at the table. You have been a reporter in this city for more years than you probably want to talk about, but covered a number of presidents. As far as weeks go, this seems a pretty bad one for President Obama.
It was thank you for a laugh to start it off, because we haven't been laughing much in Washington
we got to laugh.
We haven't been laughing much in Washington. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Gwen Ifill. No relation to the Eiffel Tower, I don't believe. Gwen Ifill as I alluded to last week, when I took Gwen Ifill to task, woohoo! I said took to task. They love it. Gwen Ifill moderated one of the debates in 2008, presidential debates, and I believe at the time, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think I am, she had a book pending or coming out on Obama. She would have benefited if Obama won. I remember talking about this at the time, and they let her be a moderator for the debate. I mean, what kind of Republican candidate would do that? Well, the answer is every Republican candidate. See, that's where I got you. Anyway, I forgot what we played. She said something last week, but there's not here. We haven't been laughing much in Washington this week. Oh, poor we. And who's we? Gwen and her liberal media friends. They didn't have a good week because the almighty Obama didn't have a good week. Dr. Obama saw his poll numbers tank. He got caught in the lie. More people think he's dishonest and untrustworthy than the opposite. So they didn't have many laughs. We didn't, frets Gwen. Oh, that's so sad. Maybe his poll numbers will turn around, and then you could have some more laughs, Gwen. Do you see how they reveal who they are? That is so I want you to hear this again. It's Martha Raddatz. It's ABC This Week. It's the Round Table. And just listen to this.
Gwen, I am going to start with you, the reporter at the table. You have been a reporter in this city for more years than you probably want to talk about, but covered a number of presidents. As far as weeks go, this seems a pretty bad one for President Obama.
It was thank you for a laugh to start it off, because we haven't been laughing much in Washington this week.
We got to laugh.
We haven't been laughing much in Washington this week. Thank you for the laugh. I really need it. I'm so down. And the graphic on the screen read, Obama's legacy. Oh, his legacy is being tarnished. I'm so heartbroken. See, this is who they are. Oh, he said they. Yeah, they. Not they, the left, the media. They're not a media. They're a cheerleading section. And their team and their quarterback took a beating, figuratively speaking. They lost. They're losing. And the season doesn't look too promising. And so they're not laughing. Oh, Gwen, if only the situation were reversed. If only that computer rollout of Obamacare had been flawless. If only Obama's approval numbers had gone up, which they deserve to go up. We all know that. It's racism. It's bigotry. It's unfair. But if only his numbers went up, Gwen would have been having a party all week in Washington, and the laughs would have been nonstop. But Obama didn't have a good week, so we haven't had many laughs. It's not fun. Not fun to be us when our team and our quarterback aren't doing so well. How revealing, how sick, how twisted, how sad for America. How sad for America that this is the media. That these are the people covering and supposed to be objective, supposed to be telling us the facts, supposed to be nonpartisan. Not that I thought for a minute that she was or Martha Raddatz was or any of them, but to hear it, to admit it, and to face no blowback, it's not shocking, it's disturbing. And it is, I think the right word is sad. This is what we've become. This is what our media has become. Very, very sad. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just, and yeah. Here it is. I didn't even see this. Ifill is the author of The Breakthrough, Politics and Race in the Age of Obama, which was written before the 2008 election and published the day Obama was inaugurated in 2009. And she was a moderator for a presidential debate with that book pending. And the question is, what Republican would allow that to happen? And remember, the answer is every Republican. Got that? All right. Just insane. Just insane. What else was I going to say to you? I could go to that other story I want to do, but I had a thought. Well, Howard Dean. Howard Dean doesn't seem to have much confidence in Obama's latest promise that the website will be fixed anytime at all. Here's cut 10. Give a listen to Howard Dean, cut number 10.
Or the real problem, which is they got to fix the website. And they got to fix the website. And I'm not convinced it's going to be fixed. You know, I've seen a lot of tech rollouts. We don't do those well in this country. My rule for them is, and no matter what, the electronic medical records of the tax department takes twice as long, costs twice as much, and often you have to do it twice. They got to start getting people enrolled. I think they can, but they may have to do it manually.
Manually? Yeah, rollout. Technical rollouts in this country never go well. Right. When they're done by the government. That's why they don't go well. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed today. Tomorrow, a show full of big-name guests, and we'll talk about it. Steve Malzberg.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. You need to watch out because thousands of new Obamacare rules are currently being implemented, and few know what the law says or does.